There we are. Hi, everybody. Hello, and welcome to session 3 of April. This is our being session. This is our journey session. This is our practice session. This is our time to practice embodiment. And I have so much I want to share with you tonight. I'm so happy. I've been looking forward to tonight's class literally all of last weekend and all of this week so far. So I just couldn't be any happier to be with you. I've got a great journey planned for you. Gifted to me by my guides. I did this journey on my own and I had a pretty amazing experience. It's new. You know me, I don't repeat journeys. I try to bring something new to the table every time. So anyway, super happy, super happy. If we are going to be making perfume tonight using your ingredients. These are the Journey perfume blends that we bring you. These are optional. If you don't have the ingredients, hang out while we make it. You're still going to learn about these oils. Maybe it will inspire you to add these oils to your collection. You can certainly blend 3 of your own oils and play with us. It doesn't, if you don't have the same oils, it's okay. We're crafting a little bit. And then we're going to be anointing with this blend. This is such an important one for us because this is about awakening. And so it'll all make a little bit more sense once I give you the overview of where we're at in this month. And I want to try to give you, when I was a professor, I used to talk about the arc of a semester, right? So at the beginning of the semester, I would tell students where we're going. In the middle of the semester, I would tell them where we are. Okay, we're at the halfway point. At the end of the semester, we would do kind of a recap and look back over where we've been and what we've learned. And I called that the arc. So I do want to give you a little bit of the arc. So tonight is looking at the conscious and unconscious sides of you. And we're going to be talking about Carl Jung's conception of the mind and the psyche. I'm not going to go super deep into it. That's more for session 1, but I'm going to give you enough to chew on because you need a little bit of this in order to do the journey. The journey tonight is really about understanding where you might still be holding on to some energy in your body that needs to be released. And ultimately next month we're going to begin the process of at the very first stages, begin the process of integration. So how many of you are new? When I get to the oils, you guys, I'll talk to you about what the oils mean and some possible recommendations for replacements. We're not quite at the perfume blending stage yet, but when we get there, I'll answer your questions about the oils. And then we always let you know when those kits are available. If you watch my daily lives, you'll see them. If you're in your Facebook group, you'll see them. And if you're on Facebook, you'll see them. So we do our best to let you know when those kits are available, but they are optional. You don't have to blend alongside us. So we've got a couple who are new-ish, right? New and new-ish. Like Natalie and Jess Jones is pretty new, and Angela Miller's new, and Allison is new. So welcome to those of you who are new. Erin says she feels new today. And Dorothy's new for April. So I just want you to know, I think you're starting at a great place. I really do. This is one of those turning point places. Yeah, Nasli said started at the end of March. This is one of those turning point places. And so I think after tonight, my intention is that you're going to feel pretty caught up and aware of how to take this work from tonight into the next stage. So I actually think this is kind of a great place to be new. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm behind, or will I be able to keep up? I think tonight's actually really going to help with all of that. Yeah, and tonight is, my PhD is in education. I took all of my electives for the most part in psychology. So my background's in education, educational psychology. And so a lot of what I'm teaching you tonight is foundational. You know, if you have a bachelor's degree in psychology or if you took psychology courses, it won't be new to you. But you don't have to have any background to understand what I'm sharing with you. My goal is to explain some of these complex things in some pretty lay terms, you know, because you're not here to get a psychology degree, but there are certain fundamental principles that I think will really help you move through this next phase of alchemy. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Ariana's not having a good day. You know what, Ariana? You know, I'm going to tell you, Ariana, when I am not having a good day and I'm in that place, because, I mean, how many of us have been there how many times? I usually feel better after ceremony or after class. Some people say, oh, I shouldn't come to class or I shouldn't come to ceremony if I'm having a hard time. I say the opposite. I say even if you don't really feel like you want to do anything or participate, maybe just lay down and close your eyes. Be in the space, you know? A lot of times I feel better after that. And check it out. We've got a lot of people in the group have education in psychology. We've got an MS in psychology, minor in psychology, right? So again, this isn't going to be new to you. What might be new to you is the way I connect it back to alchemy, because I am pretty sure they didn't teach you that in Psych 101 or 102 or 201 or 202. They don't really talk about alchemy. So yeah, Judith was a psych nurse. Anyway, I hope you'll stay, even if you don't feel 100%. And then tell me at the end if you feel better. You know, check in and. But I want to encourage you to stay. I think you're in the right place. But that's kind of my life philosophy. You know, it's like it's weird in life. You got to stay in your magic. And with that, session 1 or session 3, I should say, has begun. I'm going to burn just a little bit of white sage for you, especially because we're journeying today. So when you do big ceremony, it's important to really clear. Look at that. Social worker, MS in Psych, criminal justice. Criminal justice is tough, man. I remember advising students and they're like, I want to go into criminal justice, and they'd come to me and go, it's too hard, I got to change my major. Like, I know you chose a really hard field. I love that. Oh, and your mom who's in Soul Shift with us is an MFT. Look at that. That's what I'm always telling you. One of the things I love about our community is how wise you guys are. How much you bring to the table. It doesn't matter whether your background's in psychology or in nursing or in, you know, home care or elder care, or you're an artist, or, you know what I mean? Like, we have real, we have 2 lawyers, and we have, you know, multiple MDs in the group, but we have people who have incredible, different, divergent life experiences, and so enjoy soaking up that wisdom too. I think it's part of the benefit of being here, right? No, it's true. Megan says, I'm a stay-at-home mom, which means, let's be clear about what that means. You are a chef. You are a therapist. You are a police officer, and probably a sheriff too. You are a mayor. You are a seamstress, most likely. You are probably an art teacher. That's the hardest job on the planet. I mean, I've been kind of, you know, I've been home with my kids alone this whole past 14 months, and my kids are not young, right? So I'm not going to complain. I don't have little kids. It isn't as hard as it would have been if they were very small. But working full-time and managing my team while being home alone with my kids and managing lunch and homework and work is just like, I feel like I need a cape. So anyway, a hostage negotiator. Oh, you guys crack me up. So anyway, truth it is. You guys wear many hats, and I'm very grateful for your wisdom. Okay, put on your thinking caps. I'm going to not look at the feed too much because I'm going to focus here with you. I will stop and respond to questions a little bit later, but the collective likes it when I'm getting into the meat and potatoes, if I could just kind of stay here with you. Especially since some of the things I'm going to talk to you about are a little bit complex. So if you can stay here with me for just a little bit. And of course, Team SG is taking notes for you, so you don't have to worry about anything. I just want you to sit back and receive and, you know, and take as much in as you can. And then at the end, I'll see if you have questions and make sure everything was clear. Okay. There was a comment in our Facebook group, and I'm starting here because I thought what an interesting, it kind of, I'm in our Facebook group a lot, and I love reading your comments and your questions, and you know how some things like just kind of catch your attention, and it caught my attention in a good way. But it really got me thinking, what can I share about that with our collective during our class on being? And so the comment was, I don't remember who said it. I don't remember the exact comment, but it was kind of like, the work that we're doing here is easier for certain people at certain times, and for some people at other times it can be very challenging, the work that we're doing right now. And so it's important to consider where you are and what's going on in your life and where you're coming from in order to navigate this alchemical work that we're doing. And I really sat with that. And I've been thinking about what to say, to share my perspective on that. And my perspective is this. And in case you didn't see my post in the group, I channeled this little, it's not a poem, but it's kind of poem-y. It's called How to Stand in the Wind. Did you guys see that? I posted it on my personal page, and then I posted it in our Soul Shift Facebook group. It's not urgent, you know what I mean? You don't have to read it, but it really sort of just bubbled up out of my soul the other night. I sat down and wrote it in about 10 minutes, and literally my hands were like this. It flowed from somewhere inside of me. And so, don't get me started on Charlotta. Anyway, what I want to say to you is this. Everybody does the work we're doing. And thank you for reading it. I don't always write things that like really do bubble up out of my soul, but when it happens, it's like afterward I read it and I was like I didn't have anything else to say. It was very complete. So if you haven't read it, you can read it later. Everybody does this work. Everybody does it. The question is, when, how, and with whom? But not if. Everybody does this work. Everybody at some point in their life has to go through the alchemical tunnel. Now, some people, right? Some people do it when they have to do it. And I do think there's a point where the universe is like, you gotta do it, you know what I mean? And it can, when you wait until you have to do it, it isn't quite as easy. And the universe will provoke you to do it by taking people out of your life or putting people into your life that kind of like switch up the system. You know what I mean? But at some point, every single person has to work their shadow, and I want to take it a step further, because this isn't just a shadow work class. That's not really, this is a shadow work class, but that's not all it is, right? Otherwise I would have called it shadow work. This isn't all that is, right? This is the concept that there's nothing about you, nothing about your thoughts, your past, your actions, your inactions, your flaws, there's nothing about you that isn't potentially part of the highest possible version of who you can be. That in fact, all of the parts of you, even the stuff where you think, I don't want to look at that, or the parts in you that are so deep that you can't even look at them, and the only work that you do with them is you project them onto other people, right? That's how you know you really aren't looking at something, is when you go out in the world and go, well, she's doing that, and it's like, is she doing it or are you doing it? You know what I mean? And you don't want to look at it, so it's easier to say she's doing it, but so at some point, everybody does this. Sometimes they do it under duress because they've gotten so sick from pushing down, ignoring all the signs and all that it shows up in a physical way. And then they go on their healing path and their healing journey, and they start to sift through and pull it out and alchemize it out, and they, and marinate it and then dry it and purify it and integrate it and cut it out, and they do the whole thing. Everybody does it. And I will tell you, the universe guides you to opportunities to do it, in a really intuitive way. I don't think there's any accident, I guess is what I'm saying, that you're here right now and that you've said yes to this experience. I don't really believe in accidents. Now, I've been doing this work for long enough. I can tell you some people at this stage really resist it because this isn't the fun part. The fun part's coming in June, July, August, September, because that's like the reward, right? This is the tough part. This is the going in and waiting and trudging and waiting and trudging and looking and, you know, and being honest with yourself and assessing, is this me, is this not me? And it can end up making you feel kind of alone sometimes. So what I was saying during the readings earlier, if you weren't there, don't worry, but I was kind of preparing people who were there today for this session tonight. And I was saying that I was going to share a little bit, just maybe 5 minutes of my own experience of this year, if that's okay with you. Just to show you that I'm also doing this work and I'm doing it right alongside you. And it's really been an interesting process for me. And I had a session with one of my favorite teachers this past week, and she, at the end of our session, she said, do your students know how much of your work you're doing with them? And it stopped me in my tracks, and I said, well, I mean, what do you mean? Not in a detailed way. And she said, I think you should share, maybe if you feel called, a little bit more about your process, because they might look and be experiencing what you're experiencing, that you're processing with me, and not realize it's part of the work. And she knows quite a lot about alchemy too. So I'm going to take the next 5 minutes just to do that. And for what it's worth, only so that if you see something of yourself in my experience or my story, maybe it'll normalize it a little bit for you so you understand. And also because I was hitting a resistance in the past 2 weeks, right? And I had to face it. I really had to face it. And so maybe it's helpful for you to know that I struggle too. The last 4 months have been really cool in some ways and really challenging in other ways. But I can already see how I'm different as a result of having done the same exact work that you're doing too. So yeah, and I have never taught a class that I didn't do the work. I can't imagine not doing the work. And you might say, well, do you need to do the work? Aren't you the teacher? In spiritual work, the teacher never really, I mean, at least for me, the teacher might have more experience, but they're not ahead of you on the path. I think it's a flaw to think that. It's almost like people who think they're therapists don't have problems, right? I mean, one of the things that I love about, you know, the person I call my therapist, but she's also a teacher too, is that she talks openly about, you know, using SSRIs to manage her own, you know, anxiety. And I really love her for that. You know, we can't put our teachers and our therapists on a pedestal and say, oh, well, they don't need help. They don't, you know, need resources. They don't need support. It's like, man, everybody has their edge, you know, and everybody has their place in their life where they're working through too. So I'm glad. Okay, good. So what I said to my teacher this last week, and I'll say it to you here. I said, I feel a little bit like I'm disappearing. And she said, talk to me more about that. And I said, I don't feel the need to make things or conversations or discussions or classes or things. And this is why she was like, I think you should talk to your students about your process. I said, I don't feel the need to make things about me. When someone posts something, even if it really upsets me, I don't feel the need to comment on it. I don't feel the need to say, well, I have a different view, or, you know, I need to speak my truth, or I'm in a very quiet place. And I said, but sometimes I feel like maybe that quietness that I'm experiencing feels a little bit like I'm disappearing, because I'm not engaging as much as I usually do. I'm more interior. And she's like, well, how does it feel? And I said, honestly, it feels really good because I have a much deeper sense of peace right now. And I think it's because I'm not constantly merging my energy with everything when we're in such a volatile time in our human history anyway, that it feels good not to. Okay. And so she said, you know, what's really cool about you being able to articulate that, and that's why I'm sharing this with you, is she said, you're not disappearing, but you are in the chrysalis. And the butterfly in the chrysalis can't feel its wings, right? It's like, do I still have wings, right? And she said, but the butterfly in the chrysalis is getting ready to fly, you know, more powerfully than it ever has before, but it has to lose in that goo of that chrysalis. It has to lose everything that isn't the core essence of what it's about to become. And I hope, it sounds like this resonates with you guys too. I hope that this makes sense to you. And at some point in this process, you may feel like, am I still here? You know? But you're in that cocoon. And one thing I want to remind you is keep going. This is not the stop place. When you're in the cocoon, can you imagine if the butterfly was like, I'm good? And it's like, no, actually, you're not good. If you try to get out now and just go fly, I'm not going to work out well for you. You don't got this yet. You will have this soon, but no, it's not a place to stop, right? And so she said it's really important to be able to articulate when you're in the goo of the chrysalis, so that you can remind yourself, this is one stage, it's not the end stage. It's part of the process, right? So yeah, so you're in that, you know, and that's the phase of alchemy that we're in right now. We won't be there forever. Inside of 60 days, we're emerging from that chrysalis, and we're going to start to test the wings a little bit, right? And we're going to start to see how far our journey can take us without that. Yeah, and you may not, like Daimichi says, doesn't feel the way I feel. And so I'm not saying that you should feel this way, or that you have to feel this way, or that this is, so please, no, I'm not holding this up as like, here's where you should be. I'm just sharing my experience so that maybe if you're struggling, it might help you to know sometimes I struggle too, I guess is my point to you. And you may not feel invisible, but you may feel tired. You may not feel tired, but you might feel tense, or you might feel vulnerable, or you might feel disconnected, or you might feel critical, right? Or discerning maybe, right? Your word may not be invisible. And I'm not even sure invisible is the right word for me, but English is a very limited language. We don't have a lot of interesting words for other complex states of being. French does, Spanish does, Portuguese does, Greek does, but English doesn't have these other ways of describing it, right? Used up is another way, right? Yeah, no, so and always, I'm glad you mentioned that, Daimichi, because always, if I share something with you, it's never with the intention of saying, you know, this is how it is or whatever. It's because there's 1,000 ways to go through this process. But I don't want you to think that I'm somewhere watching you guys struggle and I've got this or whatever. I'm going through my own layers of this void too. And that's okay. It's okay as long as you acknowledge it, right? So you don't end up thinking something's wrong, okay? Because there isn't anything wrong. You're just in a process. Two, everybody goes through this. We're just going through it intentionally and in a community. So we are going to verbalize and talk about things a little bit more than maybe people who might be going through this by themselves and they don't even know what it is. Can you imagine? Can you imagine going through alchemy, but you don't know you're going through alchemy? And I guess that's what menopause feels like. You're going through it, and you don't know that you're going through it, right? So no matter if you go through a tough patch, and again, you might be sailing right through this going, I don't know what that lady's talking about, which if that's true, I'm happy for you. I really am. Most people hit a tough patch here at this phase. But you have to remember, the phoenix rises from ashes. Ashes come from fire, from the burning, from the clearing, from the destruction. Okay, the phoenix doesn't rise from lilies. The phoenix doesn't rise from unicorn farts and rainbows. Okay, the phoenix doesn't rise from a blue cotton candy cloud. The phoenix rises from ashes of what had to be destroyed in order for the phoenix to rise lighter and more buoyant and in a more effervescent way. Okay, so that's really why I'm sharing a few of my own personal experiences with you today. This is the final week of this stage of alchemy, dissolution, which is governed by the sun sign Cancer, which is all about creating a tender space to explore all of your feelings without judgment or guilt. This is the final week of that. And so tonight's journey came to me for you, but it was really an answer to a lot of what you guys have been asking for, because a lot of you have asked, can we have an experience in Soulship this month where it's more about the body, feeling this, anchoring this in the physicality of who we are, getting out of the head, I think, I know, I understand, into the body, right? I feel, I integrate, I embody, I manifest, right? So that's the goal for my journey for you tonight, is to help you identify where in your body there is anything left that we can cleanse and purify tonight. And we're going to solicit tonight the help of your ancestors and your spirit guides. So I want to invite you just to gently start, even now, to drop in a little bit, quiet your mind. In your own way that you do, you can welcome your guardian angels and guides and ancestors to start to just be a little bit closer to you right now. Yeah, it's important. And one of the things I want you to notice is our society. Do you see how the world is going through alchemy right now? I'm taking time to say all this to you tonight because I think it's really important. I'm turning 48 in a couple months, so I don't have all the life experience in the world, but I've been doing this for a minute, okay? And I've never seen people more on edge, volatile, reactive, often reactive in a mindless way. Just, they think of it, it comes out of their mouth, right? And with an inability to hold multiple or divergent perspectives. I've never seen us in such a place where people have less of a capacity to be able to hold space. In my life, I've never seen it like this before. They can hold space as long as you believe what they believe, do what they do, and don't question them. Then they can hold space for you. But if there's any divergence, different view, different perspective, different experience, there is no capacity. It's very binary right now in the field, right? So it's an interesting time to be doing this work and trying to do it in a mindful way. Now, we have seen, even in our community, people have had moments where they are turning outward what should be an inward process, right? Whenever I see little bickering and stuff like in our Facebook group, I always know we're off task. If you ever want to know what my perspective is, when I see my grandmother used to call it nitty, like N-I-T-T-Y. I don't even know if that's a word, but she would call it like being nitty. Like, I don't know, nitty gritty. When I see nitty like that in our collective, what it tells me is somebody is turning outward what should be an inward process. This process is about you looking within and seeing your own limitations and your own challenges and your own faults and your own flaws and figuring out how to make medicine out of it, how to make gold out of your lead, right? Instead, if people turn it out and say, well, you this and she that, and what that tells me, in my coaching career, we called that work avoidance. I don't like this, I don't like this, or I don't like that, or I don't like that post, or whatever. It's work avoidance. Because the reality is, when we don't want to, or when we feel like we can't, consciously or subconsciously, which is why we're going to talk about consciousness tonight, when we feel like we can't do the work, or we don't want to, or we're avoiding it, it might not even be conscious, it's much more comfortable to turn outside. And not, because then you don't have to do this. So you can block this and then just go you, and you're not doing any of the inner alchemy that needs to happen. So I'm always mindful of that. But at some point, I think as a collective, we have to really look at, have you gone in as deep as you need to go this year yet? Because the reward at the end of the year is only as big as the work that you put in now. And you know me, like, I'm not the kind of person where, like, if you don't watch every minute of class and fill out every worksheet and respond to every post where we solicit feedback and thoughts, or do your crucible paper, like, I'm not the kind of teacher where if you don't check all the boxes, you're not doing the work. But sometimes I have looked at conversations and conflicts and thought, this is not reflecting what I'm teaching, you know what I mean? And it's not reflecting the stage that we're at, where the outward has to become inward. Now, toward the end of the year, we will turn outward again, but with a different lens and a different perspective that will help us to see the choreography of our life, and not just the intimate dance, right? To help us see the bigger picture of not just our dance, but everybody's dancing, right? And how we all fit together in this great cosmic puzzle. So that's part of my intention for tonight too, is to remind you, it is worthwhile to do the work here, and to really dig in, and to really grapple with some of these bigger questions, and to really make sure that there's no crevice or corner or pocket that you haven't excavated. Now, I will say this. For tonight, I'm going to recommend that you work with what I call low-hanging fruit tonight, meaning I'm going to try tonight to make sure you've answered the question. You ready? Do you know what your core issue is, or what Carl Jung would call your core complex? Do you know what your core complex is? Your core challenge in this life. We all have one, right? Do you know what it is? If you don't know yet, then you still have work to do at this stage. And I'm going to encourage you, you don't have to share it with me. You don't have to share it here. You don't have to share it in the Facebook group. You don't have to share it with anybody. In fact, a lot of people are very private at this stage, right? But if you don't know what it is yet, that is yet to be revealed to you. And to be able to do alchemy accurately, you got to get there. You can have more than one core complex, but usually it's like a solar system. Usually there's one that's like your sun, okay? It's the biggest planet. It's the most fiery one. It's the big one. Mine is, and I'll be honest with you. Again, you don't have to share it with me. I don't take any of that personally, because I know so many people in my life who are very, very private, and I completely honor that. But I'm a kind of an open book kind of person. My core complex is, I'm not sure I'm lovable. I'm not sure I'm wantable. And that comes from different places. A little bit of feeling that in the womb, and for sure feeling that through my genetic line. Because there have been other women in my family who've carried that wound. Are they lovable? Are they worthy of love? Are they wantable? Right? Does anyone want them? Now, this can, Elisa says everyone feels that. And it may be true, but I have met a lot of people who do feel worthy of love, and do feel like they've always been wanted by somebody, right? So It's true. And I've been working on it all my life. And I have magnetized people and lessons and, well, and I appreciate your kind words. And please know, I'm not telling you this so that you'll tell me, oh, we love you, you're lovable, right? It's because here's the thing. There's some part of me inside. You can call it little girl me, you can call it infant me, you can call it fetus me or whatever. There's some little tiny pocket inside that just goes, I don't think so. And so until I can get into her, okay, and she still eludes me, there's a little pocket or a place I can't get to. And here's the thing. What I'm sharing with you isn't anybody's fault. It isn't something somebody didn't do. It is my core complex, and it's lineage stuff, right? It is lineage stuff. So I share mine with you. You can choose to share if you'd like. You absolutely don't have to. But this is why I'm sharing with you. I still have work to do. When I can look you in the eye and say, I know for sure I'm worthy of love. I know for sure I'm lovable. I know for sure that I can be wanted truly, like on this earth. When I can look at you in the eye and say, every part of me knows that, every cell in my body knows that, that's when I will say to you, I think I did it. And I've made progress, right? So how do you access your core complex? Elisa's asking, and it's a fantastic question. Through our journeys, through all of our study of astrology, which we've done in the past and we're going to continue to do. Next month we're looking at your Mars and your Venus, which is going to tell you a lot about your masculine and your feminine. And we're going to talk about the wounded feminine and the toxic masculine, which is going to start to get back. We're still going to be talking about wounds and core complexes, right? It's a great question. Like Marita says, I wonder what you think is so bad about you. I don't think there's anything bad about me. But there is some core part of me that looks out at the world and says, I'm not sure I belong here. It's not because I think that I did anything wrong or I'm not a good person or whatever, but at some point that was imprinted in me. Now, could it be because I'm not sure my parents were ready for me when I was coming and I felt that in the womb? Could that be? Could it be because I come from people who were escaping war, and violence on both sides of my family and had a lot of trauma? It could, right? My grandmother was born the year before the Spanish flu began, right? Which was just like COVID, but back then for them. So there's part of me, the fear that I know her mother felt having a very young child when all of this was going on at the epicenter of it. When COVID started, I could feel that like rising in my body. But if you didn't have relatives who suffered through it, then maybe this experience was different for you. So this is not a conscious thing. Like, oh, I'm not wanted because this is subconscious, you guys. Consciously, I have a happy marriage and a great life and really good friends and pretty good self-esteem. Subconsciously, I don't know. Does that make sense? Okay, so dissolution, this is our final journey, final chance to filter out whatever needs to be filtered through so that when we start to put all these pieces back together again in May, June, and July, we're not putting pieces back together that don't belong in your soup. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's exactly right. We're talking about epigenetics, which is really the physical story you're embodying, right? That the codes that were transmitted to you as part of your family line. Okay. This stage of the purification process is often called the white rose, the Rosalba. I have a friend whose wife's name is Rosalba, and I always thought it was such a beautiful name. She's like, and she is kind of a white rose. She's this very, like, her spirit is very pure. So we're trying to reach the white rose, right? The ultimate symbol of purification within, meaning, and purification doesn't mean it's all perfect and tied up in a bow and all of that. Purification means you've tried and looked at as much as you can this time, right? This isn't the last time you're going to go through and purify and cleanse and clean and renew. It's not. You'll do it again. You'll have a Saturn return that'll come and it'll prompt this. You'll take another class with another teacher, or you'll stay with me and I'll do something else around this kind of work in a few years. So this isn't the only time you're going to do it. But this time, you got to go in as deep as you can. It's like Roto-Rooter. My pipes are clogged today. Roto-Rooter comes, but we start using the toilets again next week. They may have to come back, right? So your pipes are going to keep getting used, and so we're only cleaning off what's here right now. But over the next year or 5 years or 10 years, you'll have more to clean out, and you'll find ways to do that too. Okay. So, and remember, I also wanted to bring you back tonight to remind you that the goal, and I love you, Alexis. I was just going back to read Alexis's comment too. We all have our core issues, right? And I could look at Alexis and go, "What? You are so capable," and that wouldn't solve her issue. If it's deep, me saying, "Oh, you're great, you're capable, you're competent, you're the best at what you do," for someone who has that core wound, that wouldn't be enough. Does that make sense? So, and that's why, here's what most people expect. Okay, most people think, "Oh, I don't know if I'm lovable," and then they meet a partner. Okay, they meet, their future husband or whatever, and they expect that person is going to make them feel loved, wanted, fix their wound. This is going to be the one. He's going to make it happen, but they can't. And that, I believe with all my heart, you guys, the reason that we have such a high divorce rate in this country, hands down, is because people don't do their work. They think the partner is going to do the work. If he just loved me more, if he just said nice things to me more often, if he just was more appreciative of me. And it's like, you can't expect Joe Bob to heal your core wound. It's unfair to Joe Bob, who may or may not even be capable of doing that. And the reality is, no matter how many times Joe Bob tells you he loves you, if there's an aching well inside of you, poor Joe Bob is set up for failure, right? So we have to do this work ourselves. And I've even had that conversation with Dave. I mean, Dave knows. And Dave has said, it is your life's work to finally know inside of you, at the core of you, that you are worthy of love. He absolutely knows it. And I nod and go, yeah, it is. It is the work of my life to really believe that on a cellular level. But he knows that he's not going to be I don't have an expectation that he's a great husband, but he's not a miracle worker, and he's also not going to heal a wound that began 26 years before I ever met him, right? It's not fair to expect that. He's my Joe Bob, but he's, he's human. So I think that's really important to say too. Okay, starting in May, when we move from dissolution to separation, we change astrological sign in alchemy. We go from Cancer to Scorpio. So I want to prepare you for that transition too. Cancer and Scorpio are both water signs, but Cancer is more nurturing. Cancer is more concerned with the emotions, the conscious emotions as we process them. Scorpio is more concerned with the unconscious and the subconscious process and the emotions that we're not consciously able to process. And that's why we have to make that turn. Cancer comes along as a balm, right, through the dissolution phase. Like, it's sweet, it's loving, it's tender, it's maternal, right? Now Scorpio is going to be like, you going to do this or what? Scorpio's going to be like, how deep we going? I'll get my scuba gear. Cancer's been up here at the top, right? So we do have a little bit of a transition there too. Okay. The goal of all of this is your masterpiece, what's called the magnum opus, right, in Latin, the great work. And your masterpiece is simply your healing. The goal of all of this, we're not producing gold, right? This isn't a physical alchemy class. We're producing spiritual gold, which means the spiritual gold is, if you can tell me at the end of December that you're a few steps closer to integrating all aspects of your core complex I'm going to say, well done. You don't have to be all the way through it. You don't have to know it on a cellular level completely. But like 2 steps forward, that's progress. And how do you know if you're doing it? You don't respond the same way. When you don't, and really hear me on this, I'm going to say it twice because it's such a big lesson from tonight. When you don't address your core complex, okay, you consistently draw in experiences to reinforce it. Because the universe is like, look at it again, look at it again. Oh, ready? Look at it again. So it brings yet another friend who's going to leave you, right, when it gets hard. Yet another, employee who, lets you down. Yet another boss who treats you badly, right? The universe is like, look at it again, look at it again, look at it again, until you see the pattern and you pivot. And then if the universe sends that person the next time, it's almost like, oh, I didn't even notice that. Or it just doesn't work, right? I have spent years of my life facing the same person in different clothing, right? The same energy, the same ungratefulness, the same insensitivity, the same ghosting, all the same bullshit, just a different face, right? Until you do it. So I really want to encourage you, start calling it what it is, okay? And after tonight, I hope you're a little bit closer to being able to identify what that is. Stop running from things that are showing you the core complex, because you can't run. There's no way out but through. You know what I mean? And whatever is irritating you is teaching you. And it won't irritate you if you finally listen and learn. I mean, I'm trying to break this down in as clear of lay language as I can, right? Does this make sense to you guys? Do you have any questions so far? Is there anything about what I'm saying here where you're like, I don't get it, I don't know what she's talking about? I even had this conversation with Zoe. She was magnetizing the same kind of friend over and over again. And then she would expect the same outcome and manifest it. And I was like, this is the definition of insanity. I know you're only 12, but you're old enough to get it. Ready? Pivot. You are manifesting the thing you expect. And if you stop expecting it, you will stop manifesting it. And she was like, oh, I have that much power? And it's like, yeah, actually you do, right? And gosh, can you imagine if you learned that at 12? I'm hoping she has a much easier go. Okay, I'm glad. I mean, I hope this isn't oversimplified, but I just don't want to, I also don't want to make this like a psychology graduate seminar, you know? What if your core complex attracts abusive partners? This is why you have to heal it. Because I promise you they do. My core complex, really until Dave, no, actually really until my fiance before Dave, because I was partnered with a really amazing man before Dave, who I'm still friends with and think is a really amazing man. Before him, my core complex was manifesting people who actually couldn't love me. Until I pivoted. So this is exactly why we have to do the work, because otherwise we continue to manifest the same thing over and over again. Well, will we learn more about ways in which we're not aware of this cycle? To the extent that I can teach you that, yes. And to the extent that it's going to happen actually in the next 10 minutes. Are you ready? Because I'm going to go through the rest of my notes right now. The goal of this year, at the end of it, is to unite within you every part of that core complex that still contains some of your magic. I'll give you an example. Inside of my core complex, where I feel like I'm not lovable, or I'm not worthy of love, is a vulnerability that actually really benefits me, because and a humility too. So, and that has helped me have really deep, intimate relationships with people because my heart can be really, really open, if that makes sense. There's a side of it that makes me very vulnerable and very almost childlike. And so that part of me is a gift. And I don't want to lose that part. I want to lose the side of it where I'm living in that wound, and so I'm magnetizing people to my life from that wound. But I don't want to lose the sweetness of what that wound has brought me, if that makes sense. Okay, so how do we pivot? Awareness. And I will tell you something. Once you identify that core complex and you're aware of it, everything about you changes. And you may say, well, that's nuts. What do you mean? When your vibration changes, everything changes. How you respond to people when you talk with them, how you comment on posts on Facebook, how you interact with your partner. Everything changes, because when your frequency shifts, everything about you shifts, and it's not anything you have to control. And it's almost like you look back and go, oh my God, I didn't react the same way. Oh my God, I actually have a friend who like really cares about me finally. Like, where did you come from, right? I mean, all of a sudden these things start to happen because your frequency changes. Remember that energy is like cars on a freeway, okay? And this is probably especially helpful for those of you who are new. I'm up here driving on the freeway going, oh, I don't know if I'm worthy of love. I don't know if I'm worthy of love. And then this person over here is driving on their car, and their car says, I am so worthy of love. I'm lovable. I'm fun. I'm a catch. Okay. Our cars can't even go on the same road. This is a totally different frequency. Okay. So this person up here, who would probably be a great match for me, isn't even going to see me, because there's no resonance. Okay. For energies to engage each other, there has to be a harmonic, there has to be a resonance to those two frequencies. As soon as I start feeling worthy of love, I begin to merge with people who have that same frequency, that same core belief, right? And so we become aligned, and I'm able to merge. And so that's what starts to bring a totally different cast of characters into your life. Well, people can look at that and say, oh, but I lost this person and I don't want to lose this person. So you may have to have some new characters in the play. You may have to. I can't guarantee that you can go through this process with all the same folks. But by and large in my life, I've gone through this whole process. I've been able to stay married. You know, my kids still live here. I have a great relationship with my parents. Doing this work has actually allowed me to heal a lot of relationships rather than shed them or let them go. I'm not a big believer in like cutting people out, or like, if I'm going to vibe this way, you can't stay or whatever. But I will tell you, people will vibe away from you. Because the people who are with you, while they could abuse you or take advantage of you or, you know, see you as a victim and you're not like that anymore, they're going to ping, fly away. And you're going to be like, where did they go? They're not part of the mix. And those people, you have to just understand the universe moves them and wish them well on their way. And not try to hold on too tightly to people who can't, you know, be in the same vibrational space. Okay. Now, the last couple things I want to tell you, and I'll try to move swiftly through this because I still have a lot to teach you today. Is this helpful? I really hope this is helpful. Because I'm constantly trying to come back to, what is alchemy? Where are we in the process? What can you expect next? And what's the goal and the outcome? Right? I need to keep you in the arc of what we're doing so that you know why you're here, what we're doing, and where we're headed. And also to give you a little bit, as your tour guide here, to give you a little bit of a heads up, it can be a shit show sometimes, but it's a valuable shit show, and the outcome can really change your life. Okay. Okay. Now, Carl Jung, famous psychoanalyst, highly recommend that you read about Carl Jung. I collect his books. I've got a whole section of my little library downstairs that's very Jungian, Jung. Carl Jung actually studied alchemy and was quite a magician. He is the father, really, of the Myers-Briggs inventory. He designed it. He's not the woman who brought it to the, to the masses, but he really was the brain behind the Myers-Briggs system. And so he's very important. And if you ever take a psychology class or get a psychology degree, you will learn all the ins and outs of Jungian analysis. The only thing I'm going to teach you about Carl Jung tonight, he was cool. He really, I don't like to say that he developed the concept of the archetype, because let's be real. I mean, archetypes take us all the way back to our most ancient history. So I'm not going to, I don't like to give Carl Jung credit for like creating the concept of the archetype, but he is considered the father of archetypal analysis, meaning that there are certain archetypes, certain frames, certain types of energies that we either try to embody or try to attract, and we fall into these patterns, and we can see ourselves in these patterns and stuff. So archetypes are a lot of what people talk about with Jung, but I don't consider him the father of archetypes. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. So Jung described your psyche, okay, your consciousness more generally, as having 3 levels. Okay, there's your active consciousness, your conscious mind, and that's just what you're aware of, what you can see, taste, feel, smell, using your senses. Your consciousness is sensory. Okay, so you take in information through your senses, you process it, by working through your thoughts and intellectualizing and using what we call schema in psychology. So when a new concept comes to us, like let's say I just learned about a new bird today, what my brain is going to do is run that bird through and compare it to every other bird I've ever seen, so that I can start to understand it. Okay, so that's consciousness. Here's a bird, I've never seen it before. Is it like other birds I've seen? Now I understand it. That's your conscious awareness. That's one level of the 3 levels of consciousness that Jung describes. The next level is the personal unconscious. Okay, the personal unconscious I call stuff in your bowl. Okay, personal unconscious is stuff that's about you, but that you may not immediately be able to recall, like you can recall your conscious thoughts and experiences. Okay, so if I say to you, hey, do you remember when you were 5 and you used to go to this store with your grandma, and she would buy you this thing, and then, or whatever, right? And that happened, but you're like, I really don't remember that. I call that in your bowl, meaning if you dug deep enough into your memory bank, you could probably remember it. Or if somebody jogged your mind, like, no, remember the store was called the blah, 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 and you're like, oh yeah, that's your personal unconscious. It is what you know about yourself but can't immediately recall. Okay, I have a lot of those experiences. It's becoming more frequent as I get older, I will say. Then there is the collective unconscious. Okay, that is the same thing as your personal unconscious, your bowl, but it includes everybody's bowls. This is the challenge we are facing as a world right now, because in a pandemic, we have our conscious experience of the pandemic, what I can see, what I can feel, what I can taste, what I know. We have our personal unconscious, meaning if we've been through a pandemic before or something similar to this, famine, war, whatever it is, it's there, but we can't quite access it. And then we're dealing with the collective unconscious, everybody's experience of war, famine, pandemic, fear, anxiety. And it's not anything that we can remember right this minute, but it's in this big well of energy underneath us. Okay, it's a big ass bowl, that collective unconscious, right? Okay, now those are the layers of awareness that you have to realize are operating at all times. Okay, and this is where projection comes from, because some of the stuff that's in our personal unconscious, okay, when someone does something and it kind of triggers us, something in our bowl gets triggered, and we're like, I don't even know what this is, but I can't stand her, or I hate that, or I don't like him, or whatever. And it's because it's getting you, it's agitating something that's in your bowl, but you're not even aware of it, right? And then when it happens on a collective scale, it's like it's agitating something in all of our bowls, but we're not conscious to it. So we don't know how to describe it. We don't have language for it, but we feel it. And this is why I think as a collective, it's exactly right. Jacqueline Downey said the collective shadow, the global shadow. I think this is why we're all struggling. This is why, every therapist I know is booked out for the next 6 months. This is why people are, engaged in almost constant conflict and challenge right now in almost every arena of society, because we're dealing with the collective unconscious. My goal for you this year is not to understand the collective unconscious. We're not gonna, that isn't even a reasonable goal. I like for you to know that it's there, because I like for you to know that there's more than meets the eye. And we all have a bowl, and then we sit on an even bigger bowl, and then we wonder why we have conflicts with each other, right? If we were all just operating on the basis of what's conscious to us, what we're aware of, our conversations would be totally different. But it's all active all the time, and we don't know how to manage it. We don't have tools, right? So my goal for you this year is to understand a little bit more about what's in your personal unconscious. That's what I mean by your core complex. You got a lot of stuff in your bowl. Okay, I'd like you to figure out what the biggest thing in your bowl is. What you don't know that you need to know, so that you don't keep repeating patterns. That's tonight's class. That's our journey tonight. Is merging the conscious with the unconscious on a personal level, to the extent that you become just a little bit more aware of where you still have work to do, right? Where your learning edge remains. Does that make sense? I know. And I don't think any of this has ever been more relevant than it is at this very moment. Like, really, truly, because in our collective unconscious, whether it's, matters of race and equity, right? We've got a whole big collective unconscious about race, right? We have a whole big collective unconscious about pandemic and health issues. We've got a whole big collective unconscious about pretty much everything, that could divide people. So we have a lot of work to do. But we're just taking one little slice this year. So what do you know in your present awareness that's still an area of challenge for you? What are you aware of right now? Consciously. I need to work on this. And you don't have to say it, but sit with the question, right? What's in your present awareness that you need to work on? What is the main challenge facing you in your personal unconscious? Can you make that conscious? When you make it conscious, you can work with it. When it remains in the unconscious, it isn't workable. So the goal is to just start to bubble these things up from the bottom of your ocean toward the surface, so that it can reach the light, and then we can start to look at it and integrate it. And then the question we're going to look at in our journey together in just a few minutes is, where in your body are you holding this? If that isn't even the right way to start that sentence. It isn't an if. You hold part of your core complex in your body. Where is it? And how do you know? Pain's a good sign. Pain's a good sign. Especially pain that the doctors are like, I don't know why you're in pain, right? You ever had pain like that? I don't know. We did all the x-rays and all the MRIs and there's nothing there. You've probably been down that road before, right? Pain's a good sign. Sometimes, for some people, we hold weight around places where we're holding the wound, right? So, where in the soma, right? Where somatically is this anchored? Could be around a chakra. Kelly's mentioning the root chakra, right? So it could even, maybe not as much in the body, but in the energy field, right? So if you always have a chakra that's out of balance, I certainly hold in my solar plexus. We've talked about this, right? And when I'm really not doing my work, that's when irritable bowel disease starts for me. So I have to be really mindful of that, because I can go from pretty good digestive health to really bad digestive health if I'm not doing my work. That's where my body likes to go and take it, and then it likes to hold extra weight there. That'll also be a sign to me too, right? Oh, fibro, right? And a lot of times in fibro, you've got this kind of moving pain, right? Like it hurts here one day and then it hurts over here this next day. I have friends and family with fibro, and yeah, I think there's so much energetically behind it. And as it's shifting, can you track it? And when does it move? And how does it move? And what's different when it's in your shoulder as opposed to your hip? And all of those things, right? Okay. So tonight's journey, I'm just going to be drumming tonight, but big drum. big deep drum. We are going to take this journey inward tonight after we perfume. I've got my little perfuming tools all set up. We're going to take this journey inward, and we're going to try to understand where the energy is sitting around your core complex. What is your core complex, and where is it? And we're going to ask your ancestors and your spirit guides to come and guide us. And like I said, I did this meditation and I was really surprised, and I felt so good afterward. I really felt like the energy moved, and I didn't touch myself, and it wasn't like I was massaging my body or anything. I was just laying. I had my drumming app, and I did this exact meditation, and I really felt better afterward. I really felt energy shift in my body, so that's my wish for you too. Oh, it can totally be multiple places. Who asked that question? It's a great question. Yeah, fibro. I have a well of compassion for people with fibromyalgia, because if you don't know that pain, you don't know that pain, and it can be a complete stop sign for people, and so much compassion to you if you struggle with it. But you know what I'll tell you? I have seen people really recover, and I've seen them recover with energy work. I have. So I hold a lot of hope. Okay, so it's perfume making time right now. I'm going to talk to you about these beautiful oils. I'm going to remind you that at room temperature, your tonka bean is quite solid, darling. Now, I put mine in my boobs for a little while. You can put yours in your bra or in your underwear, or you do you. And I got mine moving a little bit. I don't like to microwave oils because you change the molecular structure. I will tell you something. I don't like to microwave anything. I own one. If you see me put something in there, I'm just not a fan. So don't microwave your oils. I think it changes the structure and it isn't good for your oils. So, your boobs are great for that. Your boobs were made for that. Your boobs have been waiting their whole lives to warm up your oil. So, and then you have your Stearax, which also can be quite, actually I'm going to put my Stearax in my bra for a second while we talk about these. Your Stearax is also nice and thick at room temperature. And then your Balsam of Peru. Now, the oils that we gave you this month are some of the most expensive ones we've given you. These are not inexpensive oils, or easy to find, really. So there's the last thing I want to show you is this is the new bottle that we designed for these kits. So each month now you'll be getting this bottle, and then it has, I think it's the coolest thing, it's got a little, so when you push it down it releases the oil. Isn't that cool? And then you have your label. So let me walk you through the oils. Let me make sure my boobs are gonna be enough of a microwave on this to get it moving a little bit. Oh, we've got traction, everybody. Good job, boobs. Substitute for Balsam of Peru. Here's what's funny. The substitute would be Stearax. Balsam of Peru. So let me teach you about the oils. Balsam of Peru, which is this oil right here, is for unconditional love, empathy, and protection. It does not come from Peru. um, it is extracted in the same way that Styrax is extracted. It is tapped from the tree. So they intentionally damage the bark to release the oil. But it doesn't permanently harm the tree, so it's not it's not a terrible thing to do to the tree. Balsam of Peru, I'm going to tell you, as a perfumer, when I don't have this, and this is the exact ingredient I need, I go for Styrax. When I don't have Styrax, I go for amber. When I don't have amber, I go for rosewood. But rosewood is not quite the same. Some people like to replace Balsam of Peru with Opoponax, but they don't smell the same. So, are you from Peru, Maria? I love it. And Peru is one of my favorite countries in the world. Lucky girl. I mean, talk about a magical lineage. Yeah. Yeah. So is that helpful? Okay. And then the next oil that we're working with tonight is tonka bean. That's this little cutie right here. This is the most expensive of all of them, which is why you have the least of it. So use it, wisely. But you'll probably like the smell of it. Most people do. I like it a lot. I think tonka bean is really sexy, and it's amazing what it does to a perfume because it has a little sweetness. It almost smells like sugar to me. Like, I like to bake, and there's like a baking smell to it that I really like. Do you already smell the oils on your fingers? It's like, oh, it's so good. Tonka bean is actually used to be called the wishing bean or the love wishing bean. Tonka bean manifests love. It's associated with Venus. It's supposed to attract your ideal lover or your soulmate. It's for good luck, and it's for manifestation. So tonka bean is the business. And then let's see where we're at over here. Yeah, baby. We've got movement. We've got movement on Styrax. Now, if you haven't smelled Styrax before, I hope you love it. It is one of my top 10 favorite oils in the world. I just think it's sexy, sexy, sexy. But I love me some amber. And they often call Styrax liquid amber. Liquid amba. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, it's so sexy. But it's thick AF. It sure is. But like I said, you can see mine is moving a little bit. There was a hard line on it, and now there isn't. So you just need it to be a little bit viscous so that you can blend. Styrax, I'm actually going to take I wanted to remind you of this, and I thought, well, if I do it live, you'll probably never forget. If you have a cut or a wound, and I do, because I cut my finger cooking, this weekend, Styrax, yeah, baby. A little bit of Styrax right on that wound is a liquid bandage. And I meant to put this on this morning, and I'm like, I'll just wait. It is one of the most powerful. It is so much better than Neosporin or anything else that you would use, honestly. So, yeah. So anyway, we're making perfume, and I'm healing my cut all at the same time. That's called multitasking. I carry a vial of Styrax in my medicine kit that I travel with. I carry a little vial of Styrax, like the sample one that my dad does, a little bit of that, and some Band-Aids. Because if I'm anywhere, when I work with stones all the time, you get a finger nicked or whatever. If you put Styrax on it, it'll be healed by the next day. I actually had do you guys remember this? You probably do. I don't know if she's still here. We had a nurse in our community, and she doesn't like Styrax because or an EMT, because it reminded her of being on the ambulance with her patients. And when she smells Styrax, that's all she can smell. She feels like she's at work with people who are bleeding. I was like, well, talk about your career absolutely ruining a beautiful aromatherapeutic experience for you. But yeah, she's like, can't. As an EMT, just reminds me of sick people and bleeding people. That's Styrax. Frankincense is great too, Tanya. Frankincense and Styrax are your go-to for cuts and wounds. And then a little bit of lavender, especially if you've got a burn. Lavender is the best for burns. Isn't that funny? Oh, I love that. Well, thank you, Christine, for thinking of me too. I really appreciate that. So the Styrax is native to Central and South America. It's really primarily where it grows. You'll find it in Indonesia too. Um, and it is for the healing of deep wounds, not just physical wounds, but emotional wounds. And that's why it's in this kit. So the Styrax is here to seal up your wounds, right? The tonka bean is here to attract big love to you, like a big burst of wind of love to come in and fill all of those gaps, to fill in that wound, to seal it over and give you a nice scab of love. And then the balsam of Peru is here for protection, for empathy, right? To hold the space. It's a really powerful oil for holding space. So I thought these three together in terms of awakening were a really cool combination. So let's come over here and let's put our perfume together. Okay, so I am going to start with, I was going to say I wasn't keeping it warm and it already started to seize up on me again. I'm going to start with my Styrax, and we gave you a pipette because these oils are so viscous that sometimes it's easier to either kind of scoop it with the pipette and drop it in. It's not going to be as easy as it normally is if you're not melting your oils. So let's see how much I got quite a bit in my pipette. And then you got to really work it out to get it into your bottle. But it's okay, it'll be in there. And once you put your jojoba in, it will all blend together. But at least it's soft enough to work with, which is good. I don't think it's gonna pour for me. But maybe. Come on, Styrax, there you go, honey. One drop at a time. It's kind of sexy, isn't it? Can you see? Oh, there she goes. Look how sexy she is. She's like, I got this. And it smells so good. So I'm putting most of my Styrax in here because I want to. I want it to be very sensual, this blend, and I just love Styrax. And I am doing deep emotional healing right now. Big time. And if you are too, that's a very important ally for you. Let me give thanks to that tree to both of these trees, this and the balsam of Peru, for offering us the gift of their essence. Gift of their bark, really. So now I want you to bring the bottle with the Styrax and the balsam of Peru together and smell. Then smell it separately. I love the sweetness of the balsam of Peru because there's a little sharpness in the Styrax, right? So I'm going to add all of my balsam of Peru because I know I want the union of the two. If you want to be a little bit more sparing, you can. I kind of want my blend to be 50-50. 50% of the absolutes and the oils and 50% jojoba. And so to do that, because of the amount of oil we've given you, you have to use almost everything that you have. Yeah, so Siren of the Void, this is called your journey to awakening. Yeah. Yeah, you may have stepped away for just a minute. I chose these for awakening because it's worth telling you one more time, because the Styrax is for healing the deepest of wounds. The balsam of Peru brings in that unconditional love and compassion and empathy, and then the tonka bean is for manifestation and attracts that vibration to you. Remember I was teaching you about the cars and like trying to get on the same energetic highway? And so for me, awakening is about healing, bringing compassion to the wound, becoming aware of it, and then through that awareness being able to shift my frequency so that I attract a different kind of relationship and experience, which ultimately, you know, this is how you create peace. This is how you change your life, for me anyway. Does it take longer than just uprooting? And, you know, I mean, you can change your life tomorrow. You can move to a different city, leave your partner, you know. But the more gentle way to do it is to change your frequency, because then everything changes around you. If you change, everything around you has to change, because it can't respond to you in the same way, right? So the more you become untriggerable, because you're addressing your wound and you're not projecting the wound in the world and you're not vibrating from the place of that wound, for me, all of that is the process of awakening. Does that make sense? In a way, I'm glad I got to say that again, because it can be very complicated, you know what I mean? And yet, at the same time, it's a hugely simple process too, because it's mostly vibrational. And I want you to use your intuition on this. That's why I don't go, oh, 10 drops of this, 3 drops of that. This is yours. It needs to smell the way you want it to smell. Now again, bringing the 2 to my nose, and I just want it all. Now there's only so much of it that's liquid enough to be able to blend. So I would say I'm putting probably about 2/3 of my tonka bean into the bottle. And then stop and smell. I think this is my favorite of the year. That is real good. Okay, now, to really smell the final product, what you have to do is you have to use your carrier oil. You're not really going to know how it smells until you add the carrier. But you always have to blend. If you've been perfuming with me for a long time, you know you always have to blend your essential oils and absolutes first, and then add your carrier last. And we like jojoba because it has an almost indefinite shelf life. It's stable at room temperature, gets better with age, and it actually mimics the oils on your skin. So it's not greasy. It blends really nicely and really easily. And just churn to blend. And you can see even those really thick oils, once the jojoba unites with them, it creates a flow, it creates a movement. There's nothing sticking, there's nothing too thick, right? Sweet almond's good. Sweet almond goes rancid though, which is the only reason I don't use it in Sage Goddess perfumes. I've never used it for SG. But as long as you're going to use your blend, and if you're willing to keep it in the refrigerator, it'll last a little bit longer for you. I actually love the smell of sweet almond because I love the almond smell, and in certain perfumes it makes it even prettier. Like this with sweet almond would be gorgeous, actually. You just would want to watch and make sure. Now, here's the thing. The stearax is a natural preservative. So with your sweet almond, it actually may not go rancid as quickly because of the stearax. It could work as a preservative and really make that blend work for you. Isn't that cool? Yeah, and any of your perfumes that you feel connected to work with tonight is good for you. You know, I like to do this because I know you guys love to perfume. And I'm excited because my new perfuming class starts in July, I think. You'll be hearing more about that. Ooh, I overfilled it. Hold on. Ooh. You know what I'm going to do? Do I still have heat on my charcoal? Oh, no, do I? I don't want to waste too much of it. I'm going to be teaching a class starting in July called The World of Perfume for 3 months. Well, I just made a little bit of a mess here. Hold on. I usually have my little wipes here and I don't see them. I'm going to... Sorry, bear with me, guys. I had lit my charcoal disc and then I kind of let it go all the way up. There's really not much left. Maybe a little bit. Anyway, I was hoping to use the rest of or the excess of my perfume to make a little incense, but that wasn't going to work. But now it's not too full and I can cap it. And then the way you use this is you press it when it's in the bottle like that, and then you use the cap to release it. And so, a little bit of my third eye for what I know, at my wrist for what I do, all over my pants because I love it, and at my ankles for where I go. Woo! Oh, it's a super duper wound blend, and not just emotional wounds. I mean, this, you could put just a little, like I said, if you get the little testers from SG with your orders and you use one all the way, refill one of those with this blend and put it in your travel bag. And if anybody gets a cut or a scrape or a bruise or anything, you're a Girl Scout on the spot, a Boy Scout on the spot, you've got the exact perfect remedy. Benzoin is a member of the Styrax family. That's right, Kelly. There's about 50, I believe there's 50 varieties of the Styrax family, because it's a whole genus. And then benzoin Styrax is one member of the Styrax family. This is benzoin Styrax that you're working with today. Yeah, it's good on your hair too. I always bring the oils through my hair because remember, jojoba mimics your hair's natural oil. So if you want to not have split ends, a little jojoba or a little coconut oil, which kind of has the same texture, is really good just at the end of the day, or if you're making perfume and you have extras, just a little bit through your ends feels good. Yeah. Sure, one more time. So what we did is I started with the Balsam of Peru, and then I added the Styrax, and I concluded with the tonka bean. I used about a third of my Styrax, all of my Balsam of Peru, and about 2/3 of my tonka bean. Added them to my bottle. Whoops, let me turn the other camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. So, my Balsam of Peru, my Styrax, and my tonka bean. And then I added them to the dropper bottle. I filled the rest of the way with jojoba and then blended. And then you have your little push cap. So when you push down, boop, 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 and then you can put your label on there. And these bottles are great. They don't leak. You can put that in your travel bag too. We're kind of upgrading our bottle situation at Sage Goddess. We thought those were super cute. I love serums. So I'm working on an anti-aging serum right now for you that I think you're gonna love. So yeah, I'm glad you like that. So this is your Journey to Awakening blend. And with that anointing, I think we're ready for a journey. Not you? I'm ready for a journey. Okay. So I want you to begin. To gently call your energy into present time, to be here now. This whole room smells like magic. I hope yours does too. And just visualizing your central column nice and straight and aligned. Watch your posture. Imagine the energy flowing really fluidly and smoothly through all 7 of your physical chakras. Start to bring your attention to your breath, remembering that energetically it's really important that your exhale is twice as long as your inhale. That's how we begin to tone the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve regulates most of your body systems. So it's a really easy way to calm yourself down if you're anxious, or to bring your energy back in. So I call it the 2-4, right? Inhale for 2, exhale for 4. Feels good, right? So let's welcome in our guides and guardians this evening for our journey. I'm going to begin by welcoming in the guides and the guardians of the East this evening. Beautiful bird medicine in the East. I have a pair of hawks that are starting to fly with their baby. They're starting to teach their baby how to fly, and it's so beautiful. I watch them in the mornings. They circle around the baby, and such a beautiful process. Reminds me of the guardians of the East. So we welcome you in this evening for clarity and perspective, teaching us how to rise above the challenges of our lives. And we give thanks for the medicine of air and breezes and winds and the energy of sunrise in the east. We welcome in the guides and the guardians of the south, fire medicine of transformation, learning how to shed our skin, release what isn't serving us. And we give thanks for the energy of fire in the south, being able to release to that element, learning how to burn through, and learning also how to burn for what matters to us, what we're passionate about, what we want to create and build and experience in this life. We welcome in the guardians of the south. And to the guides and the guardians of the west, we thank you for energies of water, flowing rivers and currents. In the south is the energy of high noon. In the west is the energy of sunset. Opposite the wheel of the east, sunrise, sunset. This is the end of the day, where the east is the beginning of the day. In the west, we learn about the passing of time. We receive the energy of the mother. And through that water, we learn about flow and ease, and also receive prosperity and abundance of all kinds. We give thanks for water medicine in the west. And in the north, we welcome in the guides and the guardians of the earth gateway. Again, opposite the wheel from the south. So instead of burning through, now we stand inside of. We stand within. We learn how to slow down, take our time. This is the energy of evening, nightfall, learning how to feel safe inside of the mystery, knowing that we're protected and held in the north. And we give thanks for the guides and the guardians of that direction. And then working on the vertical plane, we welcome in the guides and the guardians of the upper realms, and the middle realms, and the lower realms. Welcoming in the upper realms, the angelic gateways. We give thanks for the guardians of the Akash for joining us tonight, sharing their wisdom about our work that lies ahead for the rest of the year, the core complex we need to examine and address. We give thanks to the guides and the guardians of the middle realm who've brought us together, create this sacred container with us, around us. And we give thanks to the guides and the guardians of the lower realm, which keep us connected to our planetary matrices, the ley lines and vortex places and points, the bone kingdom and mineral kingdom, and all the richness of what lies beneath our feet. We welcome in all of the vertical guides and the horizontal guides to be with us. Amen, aho, and so it is. I also want to welcome in ancestors, especially those ancestors who are healed themselves, who might be able to offer us some kind of guidance or wisdom or insight. We want to welcome in our spirit guides, especially those who are assigned to us for healing and for evolution and for change and for growth. I want to welcome in any ascended masters or light beings or master teachers from the other realms who can also provide healing, wisdom, guidance, and insight tonight to be with us. Calling on the whole spirit team as they arrive from the east and the south and the west and the north, from above and within and below. We give thanks for the incredible support that we receive. And this drum was the gift from Soul Shift to me last year, and you know how much I love it. I remain so incredibly grateful. It's my favorite drum for a lot of reasons, but partly because of this little goodness right here, because I hold it here and my hand doesn't get tired. You know, if you're drumming, sometimes I drum for like an hour. It's nice to have something soft and cozy to hang your hand on. So I want to invite you. You can lay down for this part of our work together tonight. You can stay seated. It's really just whatever feels good to you. I want you to be nice and comfortable. The journey that I'm taking you on is a laying journey. I'm going to be asking you to visualize yourself laying down. But that does not mean you have to be laying down. You can be seated and just visualize laying down too. Whatever makes you comfortable. Nothing to do, nowhere else to be right now. This is your time, your healing, your process. I'm so grateful to you guys for being here. And go to sleep for a little while. The work still gets done. Your conscious participation, not needed. Just get comfortable. So tonight, I'm taking you out into the forest. This can be a forest you know, maybe a forest where you live, where you went as a child. It can be a forest of your dreams. It could be a forest in the north. I always think of the redwoods, so sacred to me. Clearings inside of forests are sacred. I've never seen a clearing in a forest that wasn't a vortex. And so I want you to set out on this beautiful hike tonight, visualizing yourself walking through this forest of dreams, feeling called to go deeper within it. As you walk by these trees that are as old as time, they've been here before you came, they'll be here after you're gone. It's almost like each one of them is whispering your name, calling you to come deeper, come deeper, come deeper. Keep going. Guiding your path, leading you. There's birds calling you, summoning you. Maybe there's a deer or stag ahead of you, running ahead of you. Notice if there's any animal spirit allies who are coming forward, as they do, marking the way, showing the little signposts. And as you go deeper and deeper and deeper in the forest here, you come upon a clearing. At first it doesn't look like a big clearing, but as you step in, you notice that the trees are in a ring. The canopies of the trees are all connected. And even though it's maybe bright and sunny, it provides this beautiful shade cover. Filters the light on your skin. And as you look toward the center of the clearing, you see that there's a big, for me it looks like an animal skin, like a hide. Could be sheepskin. for you, they've laid a bed of moss or a bed of flowers. But you can tell that you're being guided and summoned here. And they've created this little resting place for you. And as you come closer to it, you feel that you're not alone. Maybe you can hear them. Maybe you can see them. Maybe you can only feel them. Whatever your psychic gift is, open your senses to attune to their frequency. And take your place. It's almost like this little bed is just beckoning you, summoning you. It looks so comfortable, so cozy. In my mind's eye, I see little woodland creatures gathering around. What is she doing? Squirrel medicine. Everything curious. I see deer peeking out from behind a tree. What's she doing? There to witness and quietly hold the space. And so, making yourself comfortable here, sitting down in that space, and then relaxing one vertebrae at a time, allowing your legs to soften and relax, stretch out in front of you. It feels so good just to open your arms wide out to the sides of you, feeling your wingspan. And your eyes are closed, but you can feel that they're placing items around you. Just welcome it. They know what they're doing. You don't need to see what it is. Maybe they're placing crystals in your hands. You feel something being placed near the crown chakra. Beautiful treasures being placed around your feet. And all of your senses being awakened. You can smell their burning incense and resin. Maybe you smell cedar, burning cedar tips. Cedar's grandfather medicine releases fear. Maybe it's juniper, does the same thing. Feeling more comfortable than maybe you've ever been in your life. You're feeling nurtured and cared for and held. You know this entire space was set up just for you. And they've brought you here to help you to look within, to bring this journey inward. And so spirit guides, master teachers, ancestors who've gathered, light beings from all dimensions, we bow to you, we honor you tonight. Feel the bow in return. I ask for each person who's doing this medicine work with you tonight, help them to identify where their core complex, core challenge, where it sits in the body, what it is. Show them how this challenge or complex connects them to you. Was this your challenge, your complex, unresolved energy in the field? And see us here tonight with the intention of moving that energy once and for all. Old patterns, old paradigms, ready to be shifted. So ask the question, what is my core challenge. And we ask the spirit guides to focus on what can be addressed today, the lowest hanging fruit. What is that core challenge that you can address now, you can resolve now? The time is right. The energy's here. You have the tools, you have the wisdom, you have the power. You've had it all along, but you're ready now. Feel them moving around you. If you want, you can give them permission to move it for you. I'm giving them permission tonight. Spirit guides, ascended masters, master teachers, ancestors of my line. I give you permission to move this energy through me to return to the earth what my body cannot carry. To release from my heart, from my mind, from my stomach. From all organs, all bones, all muscles, all arteries and all veins. Transmuting, shifting, healing, aligning. What can be fixed? Let it be fixed tonight. What can be moved? Let it move tonight. And spirit guides, if there's something we need to see or understand or know about this core challenge we face, we ask that you show us now. Make the wisdom clear. Show us in a way we can understand. Beginning with our feet, spirit guides. Show us what energy is residing between our feet and our hips. What's in the legs, the knees, the muscles of the legs? What's in the toes? What's in the ankles? Show us what needs to be moved, shifted, transformed, transmuted here. We give you permission to move this energy. And if this is work that we need to do, show us the how. Guide us to the practices, the tools, the wisdom, the insight, the information. And now show us what is sitting between the hips, what's sitting between the ovaries and the testes, the reproductive organs. What needs to be shifted, transformed, transmuted, healed here? Where is it sitting? What does it look like? How is it manifesting? If it's sitting there now but hasn't manifested yet, we ask for you to move and shift and transform on our behalf. Now we ask, what is sitting in the digestive tract, beneath the heart, all the way through the small intestine, large intestine, the rectum, anus, the whole region. What is sitting here? What line is this from? How do we clear it? If it's ready to be moved, shifted, transformed, and transmuted, we give you permission at this time. If it's work we must do, show us how. Align us with the frequencies, the tools, the wisdom that we need. Give us the strength and guidance. is sitting above the digestive system, and the lungs and the heart, the diaphragm, these organs of life? What is here that needs to be shifted, transformed, transmuted, or healed? If it's ready to be healed, we give you permission to move it, transform it now. If it's work that we must do, align us with the wisdom, the tools, guide us, so that we learn, we know, we understand. What's sitting in the spine? Each one of your discs. What's sitting in the shoulders? Rotate your cuffs. What's sitting in the arms, the elbows, the hands, the fingers? What needs to be shifted, transformed, transmuted, or healed? If it's ready, we give you permission to move it, to transform it, to heal it. If it's work that we must do, please align us with the wisdom, the tools. Lead us to the right people, places. Help us to do this work in a good way. And what's sitting in the thyroid, the throat, and brainstem, in the brain? What's sitting in the eyes, in the teeth, in the jaws, the ears? What's sitting in the sinuses and the nasal passages? What needs to be transformed, transmuted, moved, healed? If it's ready, we give you permission. If it's work that we must do, please align us with the wisdom, the tools, the resources we need. Show us the way. Spirit guides, ancestors, please conduct a full and accurate body scan of us at this time. Is there anything we need to be aware of? Show us with clarity. And again, provide us with, align us with the wisdom, tools, resources we need to heal in service of our full healing, full recovery, full comfort, so we can remain in service to the collective. Healing, aligning, balancing all body systems at this time: muscular system, skeletal system, all veins and arteries, all organs, internal and external, including your skin, hair, nails, all body systems coming into an alignment with our highest possible frequency of healing. Every cell opening, receiving, coding and recoding for perfect health and wellness. If we're holding on to excess weight, give you permission to release that on our behalf if we're ready. Aligning us to a lighter frequency. We put less stress on our physical systems. I can visualize them moving around you, walking around you in a circle, clockwise, moving. They're moving the energy, their hands are over you. Some of them are clasping hands as they move those hands over you. And we receive tonight, we give thanks for healing and comfort and peace and mental wellness, balance. It's already on its way. Feeling there's any words or symbols that you want us to carry back with us from this experience. Please show us at this time. This will be your gift. Just make a note of what it looks like, or sounds like, or smells like. Staying where you are. And sensing that the collective that's been working on you and working on you and working on you for the past 15 minutes now takes their places back at a distance, again in an open circle. And we bow to the teachers, the ancestors, the masters, and feel the bow returned. Spirit guides, ancestors, master teachers, and light beings from all dimensions, we give thanks for your presence here today. And we wish to continue to be connected to your wisdom. We give thanks and release you with so much gratitude from this circle tonight. As you gently, gently, gently begin to just bring your awareness to the room that you're in, starting to notice the temperature change, and turning your head from side to side, and you can wiggle your fingers and your toes. When you're ready, you can rise from the place where you've been laying in the middle of this beautiful clearing. And as you visualize those guides retreating from the space and returning to their dimensions of reality, so will you also return to your dimensional reality as you walk behind them in the opposite direction from which you entered. You can gently begin to open your eyes if you haven't already, and realizing that you are out of the clearing now and heading back toward the place in the forest where you entered. Maybe you're sensing those little birds who guided you on your way in. Now they're guiding you as you exit. It's amazing how for me, the temperature change after a journey like that is such I go from feeling really warm to really cold right afterward. I don't know if you do too. So we want to thank and release as we return to the room that we're in and the moment that we're in. We want to thank and release all of the guides and guardians of the 7 directions who held us. Releasing the guides and guardians of the vertical gateway, the lower world, middle world, and upper world. Thank you for connecting us to the planet, to each other, and to the highest realms, the angelic and akashic realms. For our wisdom and healing tonight, we release you with gratitude. And to the guides and the guardians of the north, the west, the south, and the east. We give thanks to you for holding us on the horizontal plane, connecting us to earth, to water, to fire and air, reminding us of our own internal balance. And we thank you and release you with gratitude. And with that, my dear ones, session 3 for April is complete. Amen. Aho. So it is. Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done. Oh, interesting. W. Thornton said, I'm in a bathtub with candles lit and got a cold draft. This is a little spirit communication for you. That's some clairsentience for you. Aw, thanks, you guys. I hope you enjoyed tonight. I really hope you did. Like I said, I always look forward to class. I truly love teaching you. It's my favorite thing that I do in all of the work that I do at Sage Goddess. Teaching your class is the highlight for me. So it's my favorite part of every week. I look forward to it, and I'm sad when it's over. But tonight was extra special, and I hope that it resonated with you too. I hope you could feel the journey. I journeyed with you. I could feel it. I could see where they were working, and I could feel the crystals being placed in my hands, and I hope it was very real for you too. Oh, I love that. Ariadne Norellis said, I just woke up. It's good. And you got what you needed, you know? Pay attention to your dreams tonight. There could be some really powerful wisdom in there for you too. You saw the Flower of Life, Lexus? Ah, I love that. That's so cool. I like the bell too, right? It tells you, hey, we're back. Like for me, that bell means class is over and it's time for me to cook dinner. Thanks, you guys. Thank you for being here. And the nice thing is, you can always go back and do that again. I mean, these journeys don't have a timestamp on them. I have people go back and do journeys I led them through 7-8 years ago. I do. I get feedback all the time. So whenever you want to do this, it's always there for you. And Lauren dreamt about work. Well, but maybe that's related to your core challenge, right? You're a Virgo. So a lot of times Virgo will have a core, core challenge or core, I don't like the word wound, which is why I try to use other words. Wound is just, it's got so many connotations, but a lot of the challenges that Virgos face actually are related to work. Or the lessons they need to learn will get worked out in the workplace. So I've seen that actually quite often. Yeah, Christine, it's normal to be dizzy, and here's what I'm going to tell you. Please eat, even if you're not a dinner person, eat a little bit of food. You know, have a piece of cheese, or have some veggies and hummus, or have a piece of turkey, or, whatever you like, but something something with a little bit of protein. I love hummus after journey because it's not heavy, but it's got nice protein, so I feel like I got something. Or have an avocado, or something with a little bit of some heft to it after this. You don't want to overeat because you kind of want to stay soft, I think, but have a light dinner tonight. You'll immediately feel back in your body. Don't eat until you want to be back in your body, because food is super grounding. And the moon water is for next week. So I have a couple of announcements I want to tell you. We are, over the hour, so if you do need to leave right now, I absolutely understand and want to say thank you for being here. Tomorrow, it's optional. But I'm kind of teaching this at your request. I'm finally teaching the ages and stages of chakra development. You know how I've always taught you that there's a correlation between chakra development and human development and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I'm actually going to combine all of that tomorrow. It's a 90-minute class, starts at 4 p.m. on YouTube. It's free, it's live. You can watch the recording if you miss it, but it'd be super cool to have you guys there. Because so many of you have asked me, You know, okay, so if the root chakra develops between the ages of 0 and 5, what happens if you have trauma during that age? And so I'm going to be answering all of those questions tomorrow. So that's the first thing. Then on May 18th, I have another free class where we are doing symbol casting. So we're making our own runes, basically. And there's a little kit, it's optional. You can use your own supplies if you want, but if you want the kit, I only have half the kits left. They're $14. You get the little wood discs, you get a velvet bag, you get a postcard, and you get a paint pen. So I'm going to teach you all the symbols that I love to work with, and then I'm going to have you choose the ones you really like, write the symbol with your paint pen. I'm going to have you catalog them here so you don't forget what the symbols mean. And then you'll store your little discs in your velvet bag, and it's like your personal form of divination, which I think is really cool. So that's happening on May 18th. And then the last thing I want to tell you is about your tools for next week. So next week we are taking your moon water that you gathered, hopefully, at the last new moon. If you didn't, that's okay. You can charge and bless some water on your own. And we're going to be adding your water and some of your herbs and your tears of releasing into your cauldron. And we're going to be doing a releasing ceremony to completely release everything from the first 2 stages of alchemy so that we're ready for May's work during week 1 of May for separation. Does that make sense? So next week is when we will use your stir, your cauldron, your tears of releasing, your moon water. I'm going to be using some of my perfume from tonight, guaranteed. So keep that with you too. Anything else you want to add? Some people like to add like a little bit of saliva. Might sound weird, but just for their life force, right? So their life force is part of this too. So you can do that too. You'll probably see me spit in mine, and you can judge me, but it's better than the other body fluids I could choose to add to that. So the moon water we made, Miss Jade, we just collected some moon water. Your kit came with a little carafe, and so I just had you gather some moon water, and then we're going to be doing ceremony with it next week. Yeah. I'm glad you're excited. If you don't have those tools, I would gather... It's a great question, okay? Because a lot of you don't have the tools, and it's okay. There's always a way to do things on your own. So if you have a little cauldron, that would be great. Or if you have like a mortar and pestle, something that will hold water though, okay? Hopefully you gathered up your moon water. If you didn't gather up your moon water, that's okay. I would create your own blessed water then. Meaning I would take some water and sit with it, set an intention, blow your breath across it, which basically is your own charged water, okay? But make sure you have an intention aligned to it. The moon water doesn't really need an intention. It was captured at the new moon, so it's holding the energy of releasing and new beginnings, right? And then you need a little something like this, a little cauldron or a little container that will hold water. You can use your finger if you don't have a stir, or if you have a quartz wand that you really, really love, you can use your quartz wand to stir your water as another option. If you don't have the tears of releasing, there's really no way to replace this. So, because we made this kind of a custom thing to go into it. But you could also add your own crystals. You could add some bronzite in place of the tears of releasing, because bronzite, or you could add Apache tear obsidian to your little cup or cauldron, which would be good too. You could do this anyway, even if you have all the supplies. You may say, you know what, I want to turbocharge it. I'm going to put a bronzite in there. I'm going to put an Apache tear in there. So be creative, don't feel constrained. This part of the work this month is really important, because it's like clearing out the pipes so that we can come into May prepared, because we can't be carrying all this baggage from January, February, March, and April. We've burned stuff down, we've filtered it out, we've purified it, we've rinsed it, we've made mud out of it. Now we got to clean up, and that's what this ceremony is. So add your tiny crystals to your tools are like toy. I don't like to use the word toy, but they're like toys, and they're designed for you to play with. So if I'm using it one way and you want to use it a different way, you can totally do that. Colin has a fantastic suggestion. I mean, not that I would, I don't ever like anybody to cry. I'm a Libra rising. But tears, your own tears, into that cauldron. If you happen to cry this week at all, something moves you to tears, collect a little bit. Give yourself a moment to process something deep within you, and if the tears come, even one tear, see if you can collect it. That would be really, really beautiful. You're so very welcome. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. If your water was getting moldy, we were recommending that you add a little essential oil to your water to preserve it. Frankincense is a nice oil to preserve. I love tea tree. I love Palo Santo is really good as a preservative. So I would recommend putting just a little bit of thyme or tea tree or rosemary or Palo Santo in there. That will clean up probably any mold or mildew you have. We're not going to be drinking this, so we're actually going to be doing ceremony with it and then releasing it. I'm going to be giving it back to my garden afterwards. So, and I'll give you a few suggestions for what to do with it, but we're not going to be drinking it. So unless it's growing hair, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But yeah, witch hazel is another great suggestion from Tanya, or a little isopropyl alcohol will do the trick too. If you just want to, have it be completely pristine. I just added a little bit of thyme oil to mine, and I like the smell of thyme, and thyme is for remembrance. And it holds the energy of memories, so I thought it was kind of fitting to put a little thyme in there. But anyway, whatever your intuition recommends for you is going to be perfect. Alexis said, this won't be a problem for this Pisces. I probably have enough tears for everyone here. Yeah, ashes would be beautiful. Christiana, I love that suggestion, actually. I think it's great. Or a little vodka from Lola Bunny, why not? You guys always have all the good suggestions. Does the type of tear matter? The pH in your tears changes whether you're happy or sad, right? I don't think it matters for this. I don't think it matters. That's my intuition, Tanya. It's a great question, but I don't think it matters. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys feel peaceful. Well, on that note, I wish you just an absolutely beautiful evening. If you are around and want to hang out tomorrow for the free chakra class, it's always cool to have you guys there. It's kind of like having your family with you. But no pressure. If you're busy tomorrow or it's not interesting to you, please don't feel pressured. And if you have to work or other things, it will be recorded. You can watch it later. And then don't forget, we have full moon on Monday in Scorpio. So you'll see me tomorrow. Friday you will not. And then Monday you will see me for full moon. All right, good night, you guys. And thank you, Alexis, as always, for being there.